America. So this week we read a little Lumpen Novelita. I wasn't really crazy about this book. First off, the quote in the front kind of got me. Like, it kind of like set, I don't know, this mood for me reading this book. It says, "All writing is garbage. People who come out of nowhere to try and put into words any part of what goes on in their minds are pigs. All writers are pigs, especially writers today." And I don't like that quote. I don't know if I'm like missing the point of it or what, but it just, I don't know, I didn't really like it, so that kind of started out this book for me. And then we got into it, and she kind of just like breezed past her parents' death and everything, and we really didn't get into the story, I think, until chapter 2. It made me a little uncomfortable, like, throughout the book, the way that the narrator, talks about sex. In the second chapter, she starts talking about how her brother would rent X-rated movies, and I don't remember exactly how old they said that they were when their parents died, but I know they were both teenagers and still in high school. And for her to, it just seemed very strange to me that she sat there and watched pretty much X-rated movies with her brother, and I feel like that would be such an uncomfortable experience, and I really wouldn't want to do that. But then in chapter 3, her brother brings home these two men, and that's when the story really starts. That's when we get into the plot and what's actually going on. And from then on, that's basically the story, is these two bodybuilders basically move in with her and her brother, and it was never really made clear how they know each other. I know it said the gym, but the way that she said it just kind of made it seem like they didn't actually know each other from the gym, like there was some kind of other illegal kind of way that they met, but it never clarified exactly how they met. But they move in with them, and they start this whole plan that she is supposed to break into the safe in this old retired bodybuilder's house. I kind of wanted to point out at the beginning, she says, when she talks about how she led a life of crime, she makes it very clear that she was never a prostitute, that she never resorted to that was beneath her, and that yes, she led a life of crime, but it didn't go that far. But then when we get on into the story and she is at the bodybuilder's house, that's basically what she's doing. She's sleeping with this ex-bodybuilder, and then when she leaves, he gives her money, and that's basically what a prostitute is. But she made it very clear that that's not what she was, that's not the crimes that she committed. So I thought that was just kind of interesting, how she didn't see that as basically prostitution, which it was. It was also interesting to me how she kind of hints around that she's falling in love with him, but doesn't really say it at first. And then at one point just comes right out and says, "I told him that I was falling in love with him." And I could kind of tell from the beginning that she wasn't really falling in love with him. She was falling in love with this life that she could have with him, and how she would never have to worry again, and he could take care of her and want her, but also be there to provide for her, which she doesn't have from a very early age because her parents were killed and she was orphaned. So she's had to take care of herself from a very young age, and I feel like she craves that, not attention, but she wants to be taken care of, and that's what he can do for her. And I think that's mainly what she's falling in love with, and it's not him, it's what he can do for her more so. The part where she is sleeping with the bodybuilders was weird to me too. She just basically says that one night one of them came into her room and they slept together, and before that we were told that she was a virgin, and it's just very strange to me. I mean, I'm sure that there was more backstory that we just weren't told, but for like what little bit that we know that she knows about these guys, and she just lets one of them come in and sleep with her, and that's it. And then she talks about how she's not exactly sure which one it was, but then kind of later on we figure out she's just sleeping with both of them, and it doesn't really matter to her which one it is. And she talks about how it's night after night that this is happening, and it happens every day for weeks and weeks until she looks in the mirror at herself and sees the dark circles under her eyes, and that her face is pale as if the moon, which shone as brightly for me as the sun, was affecting her. And she says then she decided to lock her door. So that's basically all she had to do was lock her door to stop this from happening. And the way that she talked about it kind of made it seem like it wasn't really consensual at first. I mean, I'm assuming that it was, but just the way that it was written makes it seem very not consensual. Which then later on she says that like she would give one of them a look, and that told them that it was okay to come into her room. And so then like we know it is, but in the beginning it seems like a very like, it's just like very iffy. Honestly, the way that the narrator talks about sex through the whole book is really interesting. She just talks about it like it's nothing and like there's no meaning behind it, and she just makes it seem like this like everyday thing that just happens. And I mean, it's basically like she said that she ate breakfast. Like that's how she talks about sex throughout the entire book, and it's just very strange to me that that's how this narrator views sex. I don't know, it was just strange to me that that's how she talks about it, and just like very abnormal. So my overall thoughts on A Little Lumpen Novelita. It was a good book. I enjoyed the writing style of Roberto Bolaño. He was very matter of fact in everything that he wrote. Everything was very like factual. Like none of it was really opinion. It was all this happened, this happened, this happened, and I kind of like that style. I like the way that it reads. It was interesting. It was very interesting to see how the narrator views certain things like sex, and how she doesn't believe that she was a prostitute, even though she basically describes like the definition of prostitution. But yeah, it was an interesting book. I definitely liked it. Definitely liked it more than the first book that we read. Yeah. There's like one of them came into the room and made love to me. I think it was the Bologna.